One simple act of kindness. A spiritual story for healing and awakening. Story Time by T. Santoro. Hey there, question for you. Have you ever wondered if one quiet act of kindness could ripple into changing a whole town? Maybe even the world you live in every day? This gentle spiritual story blends heartfelt characters, everyday moments, and timeless scripture to show how one kind word, one simple gesture, one steady breath of compassion can open hearts and restore hope. As this story touches your heart, tap the like button so more souls can discover it. Now let's begin. Chapter 1. When Kindness Finds You. Grace sat in the corner of the cafe, watching the rain trace silver threads down the window. Her coffee was warm in her hands, but her thoughts were elsewhere. She found herself remembering a scene from the movie Evan Almighty. At the end, when God asked Evan, "How do we change the world?" Evan replied with a smile. "One act of random kindness at a time." That line lingered in Grace's heart. She let it roll over her like the steady rhythm of the rain. Could it really be that simple, she wondered, that the smallest act of kindness could begin to heal a weary world? Her own week had been heavy, filled with quiet disappointments, and moments when people seemed too hurried to notice one another. Yet even in her weariness, the thought of kindness brought a measure of comfort to her soul. The bell above the cafe door chimed, and her friend Jack walked in from the storm, his coat damp and his hair tousled. Grace smiled faintly and gestured for him to join her. As the waitress approached, Jack ordered peppermint tea with just a splash of honey. Grace took a slow sip of her coffee and looked at Jack. "I was just thinking about that movie Evan Almighty, the part where they say one simple act of kindness ripples outward. I wonder if that's really true, but what happens if no one notices? Does it still ripple?" Grace asked. Jack nodded, thoughtful. "You know, I often think about the little acts of kindness I do. And I wonder too if they really make a difference, or if they just fade away, unseen." At the next table, Clara stirred her hot chocolate. She had not meant to overhear, but Jack's words touched something in her. Leaning slightly toward them, she spoke with gentle certainty. "I have noticed," Claire said. "Kindness has a way of softening hearts, dissolving walls, and turning ordinary moments into miracles." Grace and Jack turned toward her, surprised but grateful. Grace lifted her cup and smiled. "Thank you," she said softly. "That was beautiful." For a moment, the cafe seemed lighter, as though the rain itself had slowed to listen. Chapter 2. A Mother's Quiet Breath. The rain outside had begun to ease as Grace and Jack continued their quiet conversation. Through the cafe window, Grace noticed a young mother, Lila, kneeling on the damp sidewalk to tie her son's shoelaces. They looked rushed, her bag slipping from her shoulder as she tugged at the laces with hurried fingers. The crease in her brow revealed more than just a busy morning. It spoke of a week stretched thin, of a heart carrying more than she had words for. Grace felt a gentle pull inside, a nudge to step out and offer kindness. Carrying her cup in one hand, she walked outside and bent slightly to his level. She smiled at Noah and reached into her bag, pulling out a golden, star-shaped sticker with the word "Love" written across it in shining script. "This is for you," Grace said softly as she pressed it into his palm. The hero learning how to tie his shoes. Noah's grin spread across his face, his small chest rising proudly as he clutched the star. Leela looked up, startled at first, then softened. The weight of the morning seemed to slip from her shoulders. She had been rushing, weary and frayed, barely holding herself together. And then came this moment, a stranger stepping into the rain, not with judgment or impatience, but with a simple gift for her son. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice carrying both gratitude and relief. To her, it felt like the sun had broken through the gray clouds overhead, a reminder that the world still had gentle places. Grace returned her smile with quiet warmth, then stepped back toward the cafe. Inside, Jack had been watching. He leaned closer to Claire and spoke in a hushed voice. "See, that is what I mean. Something so small, but look at the difference it made." Clara nodded, her eyes glistening. "The ripple has begun," she said softly. Chapter 3. Love is patient. Love is kind. Later that evening, Clara sat in her living room with her husband Michael, while their daughter practiced piano in the next room. The soft notes floated through the house like a prayer in music. Clara leaned back into the cushions, still carrying the warmth of what she had witnessed at the cafe that afternoon. She told Michael about Grace and Jack, two strangers she had overheard speaking about how kindness has a way of softening hearts and dissolving walls. Her voice carried the memory as if it were still happening. Reaching for her Bible, Clara opened to 1 Corinthians, chapter 13, verse 4. She read aloud slowly, letting each word settle into the room. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. Her voice lingered over the phrase as Michael sat quietly for a moment before speaking. "It sounds beautiful," he said thoughtfully. "But do you think people actually live like that?" Patience and kindness are easy words, but the world seems to reward the opposite. Do those little acts of kindness really matter in the end? Clara looked at him tenderly, as though she understood the weight of his doubt. "Yes, Michael, they do. Even if no one notices, God notices. Even if no one applauds, love has its own reward." She turned a few more pages and read from Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9. "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." Her eyes softened as she closed the Bible. Every act of kindness plants a seed, and in time those seeds bloom into something greater than we can see. That is why it matters, even when it feels small. Michael exhaled, as though her words had opened a window in his heart. Their daughter struck a wrong note on the piano, then found the melody again, and both parents paused to listen. It was imperfect, yet somehow it was the most beautiful sound in the world. Clara placed her hand gently over her heart and closed her eyes for a moment. In the quiet, she whispered a simple prayer of gratitude, thanking God for love, for patience, and for the reminder that even the smallest kindness carries eternal weight. Chapter 4. The Bridge Between Brother and Sister. On the other side of town, Seth sat in the stillness of his living room, staring at his phone. He had been at the cafe that afternoon and had seen it all. The kindness of a stranger offering a sticker to a little boy kept replaying in his mind. It was not just the child's smile that lingered. It was the way joy had shifted the entire moment, as if one simple act of kindness had pierced through the noise of life. His eyes fell on a text he had been ignoring since the night before. It read simply, "Call me when you can." It was from his sister, Jackie. Seth had always loved her, yet lately, distance had grown between them. Not from miles, but from sharp words, long silences, and pride that had hardened like stone. Closing his eyes, Seth thought back to the cafe. If kindness could ripple through strangers, maybe it could ripple through family too. With a heavy sigh, he pressed call. Jackie's voice answered after a pause, cautious, as though bracing for another disappointment. Before she could say much, Seth's words spilled out. "I am sorry. I have been short with you, with everyone. I forgot what gentleness feels like. Can we start again?" There was silence, the kind of silence that holds its breath, waiting to see if a bridge will break or bend. Finally, Jackie exhaled softly. "That is all I needed to hear. I have missed you." They spoke for a long time, not about the heavy things first, but about small memories that carried warmth. They remembered their grandmother's cooking, how the kitchen always smelled of garlic and basil. They talked about their mother's garden, the roses she tended year after year with quiet patience, even when storms stripped the blooms. Tears touched Jackie's voice as she said, "Do you remember what Grandma always told us? That kindness is not weakness, that it is strength." Seth smiled through the ache in his chest. "Yes, and I forgot it for a while." Claire's words at the cafe echoed in his heart, and so did a teaching he had once read from the Buddha. Thousands of candles can be lit from a single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened. Happiness never decreases by being shared. Seth repeated it quietly to Jackie as she listened. The words wrapped around them both like a soft blanket. The cracks between them, once sharp and jagged, began to heal. Their voices grew lighter, freer, like children again. A bridge that had been neglected began to hold weight once more. As they said goodnight, Jackie whispered, "This phone call was your candle, Seth. Thank you for lighting it." Seth set the phone down, and for the first time in months, his heart felt steady. The ripple of kindness had found its way into a broken relationship, and love had begun to mend what pride once tried to break. Chapter 5. The Blossoms of Kindness. After her shift at the cafe, Anna walked to the small community garden tucked behind the alley. She found her friend Ben there, watering rows of herbs. Anna told him about her day at work, how she had overheard 2 customers not only speaking about kindness, but living it. Ben placed the watering can down, giving her his full attention. "You know," he said softly, "every act of kindness is a seed. We may not see it bloom right away, but in time it grows into something lasting." Together they admired the mint and rosemary thriving in the garden, and Anna whispered, "It feels as if kindness is planted here too, waiting to bloom." They finished tending the garden and walked home together in a quiet sense of peace, their hearts resting in the simple truth that there are still more good people in this world than bad. Days later, something about the cafe had changed. On the bulletin board near the door, small handwritten notes began to appear. "Thank you to the stranger who left an umbrella by the entrance. You saved me. To the barista who remembered cinnamon in my coffee. You made me feel seen." Each message carried a quiet story of kindness, a ripple effect that just kept giving. One note caught Anna's eye. It quoted Confucius, "The man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones." She smiled and whispered, "Yes, one small act of kindness at a time carries ripples of love." See you in the stillness. Now, dear listener, it is your turn. Place your hand over your heart, breathe slowly, and ask yourself, what is one act of kindness can I offer today? Trust the first answer that comes, even if it feels small. That is where change begins. An act of kindness you can do right now is to like this story, so it may find its way to others whose hearts are waiting for it. Remember the words of Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 32. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you. So go forth, fellow souls, and carry your kindness out into the world. Watch how it multiplies, and let your light ripple into places you may never see it shine. And before you go, remember to share this story so that kindness can spread to even more hearts. A great place to gain spiritual knowledge through storytelling is this channel, Awaken Light Energy. For more on building inner strength, listen to how to train your thoughts and transform your life with affirmations. The link is below. What is one simple act of kindness you can offer today? Share it below. Your story might inspire someone else's ripple of love. Follow the next story as we go deeper. See you in the stillness. If this story spoke to you, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and remember to click the bell so you always hear a new story. And if you know someone who could use this message, share it with them. Because sometimes, a simple story is all it takes to spark something real.